Welcome, Shona Ray Studios. I'm Shona Ray, and turns out my audio wasn't working, so we're just going to cut out that first part. We're going to start all over again. So today we have Jessica Brousseau coming to as our guest. And before we get into that, I would like to acknowledge, in the spirit of reconciliation, that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy. Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation, and all people, Indigenous and non, who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We want to say thank you and have gratitude for being here now. And we are excited to have Jessica Brousseau from Feast Studio and Press join us today for the guest spot. So I'm unable to go to the browser. We've learned that in the first part of the episode. So I'm just going to show some of her beautiful, not hers, there's three of them. There's Ian, Jessica, and Emma, and I put away my, but as I talk I'll show. We tell stories, convey value, and make a lasting impression through letterpress and design. We love working with our hands, taking the time to get it right, and rallying community around worthwhile causes. There's her beautiful calendar. The world is a rich place. Our work as designers, printers, and photographers means that we get to revel in that very specific way, looking closely, investigating deeply, and striving all the time to connect in meaningful and impactful ways. And there you go, folks. That's the word I'm using for trying to get all my bells and whistles correct. And so now we have, so Jessica's going to come in and talk to us, because I do know that they do a lot of work in community and activism, social activism. So I'd like her to tell us about that. And they are adventurers. So maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that as well. And so what we're going to do this week is we are going to review the work I did with the red shoes. And I finished the eyes this week. I wanted to finish the eyes so we could start needle felting. Here, I'll just set this aside so it doesn't get any more dirty. I got a new card today. And so, what are we going to do? I'm going to go into and show my videos of what I did. I finished all three eyes, and I'm quite excited to show you what we've been up to. So let's go there into the big back eye, and I'm hoping the audio capture works. And so it shows that it's working here. And we have the media source. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to rivet this big skull piece onto this piece of silver that I constructed and then polished. And you may have noticed that there was 3 jump rings in there. And so that was to test to see if I needed them underneath. But instead, at the very beginning of the video, you saw me grinding away the material. And as it turned out, I didn't need the jump rings. Oh, as spacer bars. Now here I am riveting it with those pliers, because where else am I going to put those wires? I just put them between pliers, and you'll see that I'll do a more thorough video with the little eye. So that's that. So the big eye is done, and here here it is, right here. I'll show you I'll use camera 2, and here we go, and I've bent these out, and I'll probably kink them up with my pliers to make them entangle in the felt. So here I'll go like this, and give them a little wiggle. We can all use a little wiggle at times, right? Can't we, Cherry? A little more wiggle? Makes you giggle. There you go, kids. We're all ready to put them into the felting now. So, and that's something we'll start next week as well. So the next thing I did is I worked on the little eye, right from out of the pickle into and cleaning it up. Last week I showed you how I solder all these pieces with all these wires, so I didn't film that. And here we are, we're out of the pickle. We're going to do a little cleanup here with our files, just so I don't snag myself on the cutty edges. I use my files. I need my, take another one off. Sometimes they're too many. We don't need all of the wires in the back, but I'm leaving as many as I can till the very end, and then I'll cut off any excess. That's kind of the way I go. Always leave excess, and then anything you can always remove, but you can't, it's harder to add. Okay, so we got, we're cleaning up with, just with the big frame with all those hypo needles soldered to the side of it, or I'll be doing a lot of cutting. Here I'm testing to see if the rivets are in the right place, and the heart's and then I'm using my bristle brush. I start with white, sometimes yellow if something's really rough, and cleaning it all up with the bristle brushes so that I can solder the needles on. And what I decided to do was just use a piece of 1.5 material sheet, a piece of scrap that I had, and I will solder that on and then cut away the excess. So this is where we're going to have that. Adding all those little needles could be really tricky, and this is just one solder, boom, done, all that's done. And this will, I'll be using one of the rivets to locate that piece. So the rivets for the heart and for the entanglement, the main rivets for the entanglement are getting soldered in now. It's all about prep when you're soldering. Really, the actual soldering doesn't take long. It's all about prepping it, getting everything set up right. And I use, because of my shaky hands, I use locators more and more in my work. But, you got to work with what you've got. And look who's here. Jessica, are you here? So we have Jessica here. I'll go to the main screen. Come on in. Yes, sure. Yes, you may, if you feel comfortable. And I do have your, here, come on over here. I'm trying to fit her out with this fancy, so today it was the first day, so you clip that on, and this goes here. Mm-hmm. I forgot to turn the microphones on, so I had to restart the whole episode. No. So here you go. You can clip that on wherever. It works quite well. It's not too loud.
Okay.
Can everyone hear her? Let me know if you can't. I don't know. I'm not watching the chat because still no sound. Yep, it's working.
Okay.
Okay, here we are.
Hi.
So this is Jessica. I showed you her cards. I wasn't able to go to the brides. I mean, I had it in there, but I couldn't.
All good.
I figured out how to use these microphones.
That's perfect.
I had to pair them and turn them on, and obviously I got that step wrong, but that's okay.
It's good, an impressive setup.
Yeah. It's, you see why I can't just drop over. I'm not using my iPhone. I'm one of those people that really don't like my iPhone at all. So, Jessica, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you guys got going here at C Space.
Yeah. So I, myself and my partner Ian and our dear friend Emma run a studio called Feast. And yeah, I guess in terms of how we got started on the letterpress journey was that, so I went to ACAD, AU Arts, for graphic design.
Right.
So I'd always had sort of an interest in letterpress or awareness of it, but had never considered it as something I could do as a job.
Right.
And then when Ian and I were traveling, we spent some time with a couple who, they lived on a boat and then they had a letterpress studio, and it just like was this very idyllic, beautiful life.
Where did they live on the boat?
It was in Tasmania.
In Australia?
In Australia.
Oh, yeah. That's so exciting.
It was beautiful, and they were just really lovely people and very generous with their time, and we got to come to the studio, and they knew I was a designer, so we printed some stuff with them, and it just sort of lit this fire, and we were really excited about it from there. So we didn't come back to Calgary for another year or so, but then when we did, we just kind of took the plunge and bought a press. We drove down to Indianapolis to pick it up.
Okay, I was going to ask, where would you find a press in Calgary?
And they are here, but we just got a lead on one, and hadn't settled anywhere yet. So we thought we can drive down and get it. So we did. And like we're poring over letterpress books on our way down. Had no idea what we were doing, but there are resources, and the one thing that we found is that the letterpress community is so generous with their time and with their energy and willingness to sort of share their processes with you, which is really cool.
Very cool.
So so then brought the press back to Calgary and just sort of dove in.
It like for me, I hear this thunk.
Yes.
Thunk, and I know they're fast at work there, and I peek in sometimes, and my dog just loves Ian so much. A little Pluto, and so I peek in and I see Ian on that thing. I've never asked you how it works. You're always so busy, but we all seem so busy.
Yes, it's true. I know, you just kind of end up getting like a bit of tunnel vision.
Oh, easily. I mean,
it's nice to step out.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about C Space, right? Because we can step out, we can see what other artists are doing.
Totally.
There's such a neat community here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like on all of the, like many of the first sort of like, as we were delving into custom work, like lots of those first connections just came from tenants in the building, and printing cards, like some like reproductions of Cecile, the painter's work, and we printed cards for Doug, and so there's
and for Annika next door.
And for Annika, yeah,
and
exactly.
I want my own cards too. It's now I finally have the right logo. The logo I've been waiting for.
That's the first step. Yeah.
So that's a big part of it, right?
Totally.
So we'll talk about that later.
Sounds great.
And I did mention that you guys are into social activism and work with the community a lot. So maybe you could talk about that a
bit. For sure. Yeah. So I mean, it's something that we are like striving to do more of, and trying, like, as we took some time during COVID last year to kind of try and sit back and do some thinking about like where we want to go in the next few years, and trying to make use of some of that space. Like letterpress's history is so deeply rooted in that, like in activism and in like print in general.
I got chills down my back. It's so true, right? It was so important, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it helped create revolutions.
And exactly, like all over the world. So it feels important to us to kind of tap into that and try and use the skills that we've learned, but also just the presses for what they are intended for.
Right.
So like as we've just sort of like dipped our toes into the water, but as a part of the like protesting the privatization of Alberta parks. Like that was one of the first ones that we felt like, okay, we should use our resources and our voice to lend to this cause. And so we printed some Defend Alberta Parks posters and had them just available for pickup and for people to put in their windows, and that felt like a very cool thing to kind of see them peppered throughout the city.
Nice.
And printed some
Black Lives Matter,
some pieces for or a piece for Afros in the City when those protests were sort of kicking off, and some more recently we printed some FARC No posters that were through another guy in the city who we just wanted to kind of lend our voice to that a little bit. So looking to always open to organizations and like coming to us if they've got projects that they want to work on, but also trying to do a better job of doing that work ourselves.
Yeah, reaching out. It's good for you. Yeah, I know. It's even myself, I've noticed that I feel it's more important when I send out my MailChimp. It's just not about Shona Ray Studios and the Blackboard Gallery. It's about the Alberta Crafts Council. It's about Elephant Artist Relief Funds,
right?
EAR and CADA. Anybody who we can spread the word about, because we are we have to make those connections.
Totally.
Right? It's so important. And now I think we have to connect with peace.
Yes. Yes, amongst all the turbulence.
Yeah. So, well, I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Jessica Brousseau, and then I had your names here. Ian Gregory.
Yeah.
It says he's the letterpress printer.
Yeah.
He's the press mechanic, photographer, and errand boy. And I hear he makes a mean cup of coffee.
He does, sometimes several times a day.
That is such a sweetheart. Jessica Brousseau, designer, illustrator, letterpress printer, the boss, and a graduate of AU Arts.
Yes, yeah.
And Emma Palm, art director, copywriter, photographer, big picture thinker, and she graduated from the U of V, Victoria? Yeah, so you guys have a lot of looking designs and art skills behind you, and it's obvious in your work.
Shona, I really appreciate that. That's lovely.
Oh, it's so lovely. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad you could drop by our funny little live stream.
Me too. The background is incredible, by the way. It's so good.
It's skulls and my granddaughter's drawing, and then another drawing that's really inspiring to me by a woman in Eastern Europe.
Oh, cool.
I forget her name. And then this is a piece that I saw in North Carolina when I was down there in 2011. This woman's work, so amazing, and kind of helping me with it because I'm working on dolls right now, right? But they're not cuddly playthings.
Right. I wouldn't expect it. Yeah.
So, but anyways, thank you so very much for coming.
This was nice.
If you ever if you ever have something else you need to talk about, just let me know and we'll include you in our live stream.
That sounds great. I'd love to be back.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Shona.
And you just, take that off and unplug it. Isn't it fancy, folks?
That's amazing.
New microphone.
Yeah. You're all kitted out.
Everything's working my chat.
I'm so glad.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jessica.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, we will. They're right across the hallway. We usually say hello once a week or two. And so, so let's go back to the eyes. Let's finish them off. Where are they now? Where are we? Okay, we are going to go, the front out of pickle, and here's the little eye. It's out of the pickle again, final solder. And you see I've drawn where I'm going to cut off the excess metal. So even though this took quite a while, I only included a very few seconds of the sawing trying to keep the videos short and sweet for you guys. And here we go. Now we have it. Now there'll be a lot of filing to do. Oh, and what I'm doing there is I'm actually, you might not notice it, but I'm actually twisting those at the same time as I'm straightening the rivets. And I'm getting them filed at the ends. You probably have guessed why, to see how the little heart fits. How does that little heart fit? And we know from experience that we're going to have more to cut off because I always leave more than I need. That's just the way it is. And so now I know what I'm doing. I'm going to draw around this little heart, and we're going to be going back at her with saws. But now by twisting those wires, I've hardened them too, so they won't be bending unless I ask them to or push on them. They won't just be wiggling around. Otherwise they're very soft after soldering. So here I am. Oh, I did a lot of sawing, kids, you could tell. Now I'm just making sure that heart is exactly the way I want it. Filing to get rid of any of my saw marks now, mostly. And I just included a few strokes of each saw because it takes a tribe of saws to saw one piece. Let me tell you, especially one that is like, this is quite complicated. And now here I've got my white silicone tip, which is extremely aggressive. My brown silicone tip, which is a little less, but still very aggressive, just to clean up, get in those really tiny edges. I'm using what you call a knife lentil bit. And these are called silicone burrs. They come in 3, and there you go. And now let's go to the final eye, the final video of the eye. I've done all my cleanup. And now I carve the little lines on the hypos. It's one of the last things I'm going to do on the frame as well. Carve those little lines. Took my shaky pill, so I'm not too bad. And clean up with the blue bristle brush. I usually go white, red, blue. It's a very dark red, brown. And then I go to pre-polish. But in this case, it was just a little cleanup, and then I used the blue Cratex. Here I am, liver of sulfuring. And so I did the big back eye at the same time. Ooh, don't do that, kids. Don't touch it with your bare hands. I should have my gloves on. Forgot to put them on. It's been so long. But there we go, a couple of dips, a little soap and water, and with a bristle brush, which I'll film one day, but it's not easy to film the back sink area. Anyways, here I go. I'm going to finish the eyes. The other one was already, the other eye was already riveted when I did this. Don't like to do that, but sometimes you do have to, because sometimes the bone expands and blows up on you. So here I clipped the rivets, and now I'm filing them down. You want about a millimeter. It's a 1 millimeter rivet, so I want about a 0.5 millimeter up on top. Here we go. We have the parallel pliers, which work better than those other pliers that I was using. And here I'm going to rivet. And you may have noticed that I ground a little divot in both the holes with my ball burr. And that was to give a place for the rivet, for the material as it's smashed down to fill in. And I'm going to do a blow-up drawing of that on the board when we're done here. But the thing about using these parallel pliers is they're metal, so I have a nice firm background. But there we go. The hammer, and you'd think, oh my God, that woman with her shaky hands hammering. It's so strange, but it works like a hot damn. Now here I am taking the liver of sulfur after I polish the tips of those rivets, just giving a light brushing. Just even having the liver sulfur close to it will eventually darken the tips of those rivets. So I'm not really worried about them turning black right away like they did when we first made them. Okay, main screen. Where is it? Here we go. Here we are again, and as I said earlier, I'd like to do a little drawing on the chalkboard. So I think I'll just turn my camera. So there. I'll turn my camera there. I'll get Joe out of the way. We might need him later when we talk about Baba Yaga. And can you see me here? So this is the bone, and it's got 2 holes in it. Those are the holes. This is the metal underneath, and this is the wire coming through all of that. What I did is I ground and made a divot, so when I hammer this metal and it mushrooms out, it fills that, and then it can't get pulled through. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I should have used this camera. Let's try camera 2. Go see. Oh yeah, you can see it a little better. It's a little closer. Should have made it bigger. Oh well, you get the idea. You want to fill that little divot here. We want to fill that little divot with the hammered metal, and that's what riveting's all about. So here I go. Here I am. I'll go back to main screen. So, okay, so those 3 pieces are all done now. And as you can see, I only have one more to show you a little demonstration of, but these 2 pieces are finished. Pretty excited. Now we can start. This week will be this week we will be starting Baba Yaga, but we'll also every week I've given myself a couple of tasks on the red shoes so that I can keep you updated on how that's going, and I'll figure out how to film myself needle felting. I don't, jumped off the cliff, kids. Now here we go down, and what a joyride. Everyone should do it a few times in their life. Here we go, the big skull. So remember we had the big skull, and I was just gonna have, I made this eye in the back of it to glue to it so that I could, so that it would be there in case anything ever happened to that big eye. If it ever came loose, there'd be an eye behind it. So I carved an eye in that heart, and I made it a nice thing to look at. And but then this week I decided, you know what, I'm just going to cut into the big skull so that you can see that eye behind it. It ended up being really creepy and mysterious. There you go. I finished this, polished it up real pretty. I can't always show when I'm polishing because I need somebody to hold the camera for me then. So only if I'm working on something and Steph's here. But I take it white, red, and then blue, and then I polish it. Yeah, white, red, then blue. And it is pretty darn shiny, but you really, the polish seals the metal so you get less oxidation, and when it does oxidize, it oxidizes evenly. So there you go. Now I'm drawing on it to see where am I going to put that hole. And when I do, because one of my rivets came out. I still have two, it's good. But one of the rivets on that eye came out, so that's no longer there. And so I figured out where I could carve, and I carved a little heart. Thing about skull is you never know any material, natural material, you just don't know. And all of a sudden it was really, really soft in one place, really, really hard in the other. So the heart shape didn't come out too concise, but you know, that's okay with me. That I feel okay about that. And there we go. Here we are. We're going to glue. This glue that I'm using is a jewelry glue. Jewelers use this. It says on the package you can glue stones, polish stones with it. So you can imagine how strong of a bond. I always put more hardener than resin in with this glue after years of using it. I know that, but I took a little of the hardener and set it aside because it was a little bit too much. So I actually stirred for 30 seconds, but I just didn't show it all. So now I just add a little daub. This glue takes over 24 hours to truly set, but I always keep the toothpick and the glue until the curing process is finished. And as you see, I write what time I did that gluing, and so I write what time I do the gluing. So today at 3 o'clock, I'll put my thumbnail in that and see if it's good and hard, and then I'll know for sure. Here it is now. I've still got it. It's still got 2:58. So at 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'll just put my nail in it. It's still allowing my nail to make an impression, but by 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, it'll be hard, hard, hard. And this glue is amazing. You get it at Ken's Gems. Other jewelry suppliers will have it, but that's where I buy it. Same price as anywhere else, and I like to support local, as you know. And so there, we have it. All the eyes are done. I loved the way this one came out. It's super creepy. And it's going to be this way. And then all around the edge is going to be felt. So this outside edge, I'm not worrying about it. I'll decide when I'm felting how I want that whole thing to go and what shape I want that eye. But I really like eyes, and so we're going to be making a lot of eyes for Baba Yaga too. So let's get on to that. And I did want to show you all the stuff that all the materials I've been gathering up. Here, let's clear a space here. Get this stuff away, get all this stuff away, put it on my bench. So we have the big stag skull. Most people want to look at it like that. First thing I do, turn it upside down, and I've shown it before. And then let's see how camera 2 is going to do here. So here I know I want this leg in there, but I don't want this piece to be tilting forward. So I know that I need to get that leg in there so it brings it out some more. Plus, I want that leg to go in there. Trying to grind the leg down could be a problem. So what I'm going to do is actually grind this part here, this opening here. I'm going to be grinding that out so the leg will fit in there, and not only just the leg, but the wire that I will drill a hole in the leg, and there will be a wire in there, and that also has to fit through this hole. So I'll be grinding this out with my Fordham, and let's see if we can do that. I'll just show you what I'm going to be doing right now. Let's get that out. This, I've got my favorite grinding tool, and I'm just going to be using it to grind out. I'm reaching right in there. Right in there. I'm reaching right in there, and I'll be grinding this out so this fits in there better. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. The other thing I've been thinking about is the entrance to this, calling it a doll hut. It's Baba Yaga's doll hut. So the one thing I did when I was reading all the Baba Yaga tales I could find is I found out that she gnashes her teeth, her giant iron teeth. They're often called teeth. And I was thinking, wow, I could do a big mouth here with teeth in it and have her entrance be a teeth. But then the next day, the very next day, I read one of the stories said the keyhole had teeth in it. So, I mean, what's a girl going to do, right? She's going to dig up all the teeth she can, right? All the wild teeth that she happens to have in her drawers, because that's the kind of girls we are, and person. And I have lots of choices here. So I've got lots of like broken jaw fragments. So I will be putting teeth inside this crevice, and I've decided it will be in the shape of a keyhole. So we don't have a lot of room, so we're gonna do a keyhole here as far down as we can, and might give it a nice jaunty bow there. And I'm going to use nice thick material. I actually found this ring that I made for something else out of sterling silver, and this other oval that I made for a box one time, and I made two, but I only needed one. So I'll probably use this material to make the frame. So we're going to make a key frame, and this is thick enough material, wide enough here to drill a few holes, put a few soldered rivets so that it'll attach inside to the skull. But this time we're going to make the frame first. We're going to make the frame first, and then we'll cut to fit the frame. So that will just alleviate probably one step, you know. So we're going to do that. So we've got teeth, and then we'll be sawing these teeth, sawing them like into smaller segments, and then we'll drill holes in them. So, and then attach wire to those, and those will all get entangled in the wool. So now I did say that I would do a piece of jewelry for every piece. So I thought, that's going to get pretty crowded in there. How am I going to get a piece of jewelry in there? You know what? We're not going to put the jewelry in the. We're going to put the jewelry on this side, because there's a perfect spot right here to attach a pendant, and we'll keep that quite simple, and we'll make it. I'm going to make a keyhole with an eye, and probably some more teeth in it, or maybe even use again this part of the skull bone that we cut out. I just love it so much. And I've got some ideas around that. So this part of the skull is going to be a lot of fun to play with. So we're going to have teeth, we're going to have a keyhole, we're going to have a all-seeing eye inside one of those, at least one of those keyholes. I'm thinking at the front, I might even want to put more teeth coming out of here. If not, lilac sticks. I've got a beautiful lilac tree I've been drawing for years. Branches that I cut off. So I might put branches coming out, because often Baba Yagas, they describe her as having branches for an arm, at least one of them. And but we'll use teeth quite a lot. And then I've been thinking about this, kids. We have to have a neck. And I was, I had a lot of ideas. I thought screen with felt inside, but you know what? Then I thought, no, it's got to be a bone from a deer. So, because this is a stag. So here I have this bone, and it is going to be marvelous. Look at the beautiful tilt, elegant arch there. And so this will get sawn off with a hacksaw. Just use a hacksaw, and I'll saw it off, and that neck will be, it'll be beautiful. I'm really excited about it. So for next week, I'm going to have the neck sawn. I'm going to think about how I'm going to attach these guys. Probably just wire and felt, and very gentle. This, I feel, well, it's a bird, so it's super lightweight, kind of fragile, so I'll leave it to the very end to do. But I'll have wires going in it. And I'm not going to worry about the witch's hat. I was thinking about that, but you know what? We don't need to worry about that. Like, we don't have to. I think the thing about this piece is the elements that I've got here to work with are so powerful. Less is more, I think. So we're going to have bone, we've got skull, we've got bird skull, we've got elk, deer skull, stag. We have teeth, all natural. And we're going to start, in fact, this afternoon, I'm hoping, to start carving the chicken legs. Last night I started actually really looking at chicken legs, and there's just like little dinosaur feet, Well, we know that, but, sometimes you don't really think about it. And so we're pretty excited to get going on the little dinosaur feet. And so that's going to be carved. I'm going to carve up to about here, but this part here is so beautiful, I don't want to touch it. It's just like, sometimes you just got to let nature be nature and keep the natural beauty going. So from below these little part of the tines on the antler, we're going to carve like chicken feet and dinosaur scales. It's going to be fun. And then I also want to include flame, because my favorite Baba Yaga story is the one of Vasilisa going for fire for her family, her wicked family. and she learns a lot, right? But the flame she takes home burns them to cinders. So, be careful what you wish for, right? There's a little bit of that going on with that story. And so I've decided I want to start carving flame into the stag antler, skull. And so we're going to have flames, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? So that's what it's about for me. Let's have fun, let's enjoy ourselves, because we don't have a pension plan, kids. So let's make the best of it. Okay, so that's kind of what my life is about, right? Because you never know what tomorrow will bring, right? So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about today. Next week we just happen to be having our broadcast on International Women's Day. And so I have Karen Scarlett coming to talk to us about the work she's been doing with the Calgary Women's Centre. And she's a wonderful artist. She's going to have an exhibition here in September, October at the Blackboard Gallery. And so we'll get her back in September to talk about her work and her exhibition. But right now she's been working with the Calgary Women's Centre and doing some exciting work. So amazing, these guests, eh? I just had this idea, somebody should come and talk about their work, and then all of a sudden I have a wonderful lineup. I can't hardly wait to introduce you to Kathy. She dropped by my gallery one day, and then she showed me her work, and it was like I was blown away. And she's going to hang an exhibition next week. Because of COVID, my 2-year in advance schedule, that was a little bit nuts, right? But I had exhibitions booked for 2 years in advance, right? Almost from the day we opened. And but that all got thrown out the window. So now we're just kind of taking things a little easier around here and having fun. So thank you very much to everyone who made this broadcast possible. Thank you, Jennifer, for your long range help. And thank you to Ron Chikora for all his technical assistance getting set up here. The camera store. We love the camera store now. We want to go have coffee there in the morning. C-Space and all the wonderful tenants, and you're going to meet even more of them over the next 7 months. I think I will be filming this for about 6 or 7 more months. So C-Space and all the tenants, we want to say thank you to Cindy Lee and Cherry for being so patient with me to do this project. And always, and thank you to Kada for making it possible, but I think I said thank you at the beginning. And then always I want to say thank you to Herb for making my dreams come true. So I'm going to fade to black, kids.